Hello, everyone, and welcome to Director Watch, an AwardsWatch podcast that attempts to get inside the mind of cinema's greatest auteurs, explore what drives them. Maybe we go on a few unrelated tangents along the way. I'm Ryan McQuade, the executive editor here at AwardsWatch, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Jay Ledbetter.
And do not worry, folks. We've all shown our IDs, making sure that the age gap of the participants on this podcast is just and moral. Because we're talking about Licorice Pizza, which there's been a lot of conversations about that we might have to touch on a little bit. I don't know.
Wait, what?
Paul Thomas Anderson's most controversial movie? Is that safe to say?
Is it?
I guess Boogie Nights when it came out probably was.
I was going to say Boogie Nights was pretty controversial when it came out. The Master was pretty controversial when it came out.
Okay, let me rephrase. His most controversial movie of the internet age.
There you go. That's better. There it is.
Yep. The most click-worthy movie of his career.
Probably till the next one, right? Because people can't handle his shit. I don't know. People don't know how to handle good movies. I don't know. We'll talk about it. It's going to be interesting. Jay, it's our last one because it's his last film.
Not the last podcast ever.
Just last PTA. I mean, come on. Hey. We're not leaving that quickly. But we had to bring a guest on.
We had to.
First
Been
time.
On fire with the guests.
First time, right? Right, Jay?
First time?
First time on the Director Watch, I believe. Yes? If I'm not mistaken?
Yes. Correct.
It's our very own Dan Bayer. Dan, welcome to Director Watch.
Let me roll it, Ryan.
Oh, ooh, okay. Spicy. Dan's first time on.
It is.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It's weird. That's why I kept saying it, because I'm like, please correct me and tell me I'm wrong, but I'm not wrong.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've been on a Director Watch before. I was
on
almost on one, or I was going to be on one, but it hasn't happened yet. In actuality,
I don't even know. What episode are we on?
We're on episode 20.
20 something?
No, we're on like 28.
Wow, look at us. Who would have thought? Not me.
Not me. I'll tell you that. But Dan's here on the last episode of the PTA series. Obviously, until he makes a new movie, and then we'll review that one when that one comes out and all that good stuff. Dan,
yeah,
I've been asking everybody that's guested on the show their relationship with Paul Thomas Anderson, what the first PTA movie they watched was, and then what's their favorite PTA. But I think that your favorite PTA, if I'm not mistaken, might be the movie we're talking about today. Right? Am I wrong about that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Indeed it is.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Indeed
Wow.
it is.
I thought you were saying, yes, you are wrong.
Movie. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
Back-to-back eps with PTA faves from the guests. We love to see it.
Yeah, this is my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie. I am not the biggest Paul Thomas Anderson fan. As longtime listeners of the Mothership AwardsWatch podcast may know, I am prone to refer to Wes Anderson as the better Anderson.
This is shots fired.
Because he is. And
Wow.
This hurts.
Wow.
You know what? I am living in my truth, and it may not be everyone else's, but it's mine, and I enjoy it.
Paul Thomas Anderson, not symmetrical enough for Dan.
No, not at all. This is actually it's a part of a larger thing with me, where I'm also not the biggest Kubrick fan or the biggest Scorsese fan or the biggest Fincher fan. And it's because I tend to find that a lot of the directors who are very famous for having really tight control over their movies, I find their movies to be particularly weighty and particularly airless. I find that if I am not thinking exactly what the filmmaker wanting me to think. I feel like there's very little way into these films for me when I watch them.
So you're saying you're not a fan of Paul Thomas straight white Manderson or straight white manly Kubrick, or what other puns can I do for directors?
Martin So
draw
Man
in straight white.
I was
Oh,
gonna
Michael Mann. Hello,
Yeah, Michael Manley.
Michael straight white man.
Michael straight white man. Yeah.
Yeah, on the whole, yeah.
There you go.
You know, that's just disappointing that Dan doesn't like cinema, but you know, it really.
There are lots of other auteurs that I have a great love for, but those canonically beloved auteurs, I like their movies. I like, you know, some of their movies at least, but they're not like my favorite filmmaker
On the whole.
Yeah,
not your guys.
No, they're not. Like if you're talking about my favorite current living filmmakers, right? We're talking about Wes Anderson, we're talking about Wong Kar-wai, we're talking about Malick, we're talking about Yorgos Lanthimos. More intuitive style over, you know, lots of thinking substance guys. But so that's the type of cinema I like. So yeah, of course my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie is his loosest, warmest movie.
Didn't we just get like 20 hours of new Wong Kar-wai in China?
Yeah, 25 to be exact, and I cannot wait to spend however many days in a theater I need to watch all of them.
Well,
sounds good.
I want it. Give it to me, and not the abridged version like they did the Grandmaster. I want the real thing. I want the real thing,
uncut version.
Wong Kar-wai, more like Wong Kar-wen. Are we gonna get it?
You're really
Wong Kar, why would you cut it?
Okay, all right, both of you. Really, this is a lot already up at the top. Dan, can I ask you one question just to move on before, but you know, because you said you hated a lot of these people, and just putting it on the record, Dan hates movies. But
yes,
but
mild dislike is considered hate on the internet, so I get it. I knew what I was.
Hey, I'm just trying to get in the mood in the mode of how we're going to talk about Licorice Pizza, because that's how it is, right? No, I'm just kidding. No, I get it, Dan. Like there are some people that are not for me.
Who's a not for you, or Ryan?
Oh, you know, like oh god,
James Cameron.
No,
I
am proud to say that I was part of the advanced team that got him back into it. So we righted that ship.
Me and Big Jim, we're on good terms. I wish Big Jim wouldn't be making only Avatar
exclusively Avatar films.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
Look,
but I get it. But I get it.
To get him to keep making movies.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Or
with me.
let me just throw a little shade at Big Jim. Those 4K restorations he's been working on.
Yikes!
Abominable.
Abomination.
Digital noise reduction. Get out of here.
I'm telling you, the True Lies one hurt me.
Film grain is magic, and Paul Thomas Anderson is a man that knows that.
He likes grain.
He loves some grain.
He likes a little grain in his diet. Yeah, that's for sure. I don't know. Who's somebody? I mean, like I'm like give or take on. I mean, you mentioned Lanthimos. He's a guy I can give or take. I mean, kind of after doing the Villeneuve series, I don't think he's my guy anymore. I'm kind of.
I think he's firmly out of the my guy category. I still like him.
Yeah, I think he's all right. Maybe Dune 2 will get me back there. You know, I say that, and then you know, I don't know. Like, who's the guy that did that movie Climax that I hate so much that everybody
Gaspar
says?
Noé.
Oh, Gaspar Noé.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what I say to that. Too, so. Gaspar Noé.
No way. I'm watching his fucking movies. I'll tell you that. Yeah.
I will be there for all of his new movies.
I'm a little hit or miss on Wim Wenders. A little bit. Yeah. But not like there's not a lot of guys and gals that I don't like. I like a lot of filmmakers. I don't think that there's anyone that I'm actively, because Cameron was I guess Jay would call it a bit, which Cameron was like was the thing I really had to get over, and I now appreciate. Yeah. So, but Dan, I feel like a director duo that you would have really liked from that sort of bro-y popular era, the Coen brothers. Everybody likes the Coen brothers, right?
Yeah, I mean the Coen brothers are like kind of by definition very hit and miss filmmakers, especially recently. But like, yeah, I love the Coen brothers.
Yeah. You can't not like the Coen brothers. Like they're kind of, I guess, like the unifier of everybody from their generation, if that makes sense. Okay, cool. Well, at least we're back on track of positivity around here. Do you remember the first PTA movie you saw?
First, I think it was Magnolia.
Yeah. Was it home video?
Yeah, and I think I saw Magnolia before Boogie Nights. I'm like 90% sure I saw it before I saw Boogie Nights. But prior to Licorice Pizza, Boogie Nights was my favorite PTA movie.
Okay.
By a considerable margin.
Boogie Nights was your favorite?
They're two of his most similar movies.
Yeah, right.
They
Tonally.
are indeed. 70s California is a milieu that he really gets.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
He knows how to present that on film.
And Inherent Vice too. I know that's controversial. Some people don't like that
60s,
movie.
70s,
yeah.
I mean, that movie is, it's a bit of a mess, but the vibes
masterpiece
are immaculate.
It's good vibes. I like the movie.
Immaculate vibes.
It gets. We said this on the episode a couple weeks ago. It gets better, I think, on the rewatches, and I think as you get older with that movie, like you just appreciate the vibes and the characters and some of the themes maybe are a little bit more.
It's a masterpiece.
Yeah,
we talked about it a lot. I love that movie.
Yeah,
so
it's
much.
It's a great movie.
I'm very glad for you, Jay.
Dan, this is your favorite PTA. Why is Licorice Pizza your favorite PTA, and what makes it so special for you?
Oh, I mean, because my man finally lightened up.
I feel like we
were just talking about Inherent Vice, which is like a Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah, and like I don't know, like I think Phantom Thread. I know people think it's a very stuffy drama, but it's very funny and it's
Phantom
playful.
Thread is hilarious.
Wry humor.
Yeah, Phantom Thread is hilarious.
I forgot to mention on the episode,
I like Phantom Thread a lot.
When she pours the water all the way from the top at the end, like right before she serves him, fucking gold. It's fucking gold.
It's great.
Anyway,
it's great.
Ryan, we talked about that movie for 2.5 hours.
I know.
No, but this movie is so. It's warm and loose in a way that none of his other films are to me. And I think the one that gets closest to it is Boogie Nights. But I think at that point in his career, he was really trying to prove himself as a director and set a directorial style. And Boogie Nights, as much as I love it and as again like warm and like shagadelic as it is, it's also very carefully put together in a look at me kind of way that I really appreciate and love, but it feels a bit put on, especially when you compare it with something like this, which feels just so genuine from the first frame. And I think the thing that I really love about it is that it is loose in a way where it feels like improv. Like it feels like we're just watching things literally as they're happening. Even every camera movement feels like it's just happening right there on the spot to try to, turn us around and see something else. And I love it. And I admit that the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, this is too episodic. Some of these things really don't work, and some of these tangents are just a little too long. But the more I watch this movie, the more I enjoy all of the discursions and side roads that they take on this trip. And it just feels so of a specific time and place. It's not just most of PTA movies, if not all of them, are as much about the location in which they take place as they are the characters in them. But there's something about this one that just really it feels more personal than the others. And I guess it is because like this is the time and place that he grew up. But even with that, with these characters, and maybe this is the thing that really draws me to this movie more than any of the other ones, is that there is, unlike in most of his other movies, there is a real genuine love and compassion for every single one of the characters in this movie. There is not a single character in this movie that, well, okay, there's one character in this movie, maybe two or three that kind of looks down on and says, but for the most, all the main characters and the people in their direct orbit, it's just nothing but love. And I love love. And I love those vibes. I think that's why it's my favorite.
J-Dog?
Yeah, it's I mean, I'm just gonna go out and say this is firmly like tier 2, tier 3 PTA for me. Which means it's merely fantastic instead of one of my favorite movies. But it is sort of that. I've actually liked it. I've seen it 3 or 4 times now. And actually, I've liked it slightly less each time I've watched it. I remember watching it in the theater, and I just went back and looked at my Letterboxd reviews for this historically as I have seen it over time. And the first time I saw this at a press screening for awards season, my review is basically like, this feels like a return to loving movies. I cannot describe to you how important this was when it came out, at the time it came out specifically, and just how enthusiastic I was about this movie. And I still love it, and I do love those vibes and the episodic nature of it. But that looseness to me does start to turn a little bit into weightlessness. And then as the thing that has kind of dominated the conversation regarding this movie has come to be the age gap discourse, which is always a joy, but something we will have to touch on. But the thing I kind of locked into between this viewing and then reading Ethan Warren's wonderful PTA book. So at the end of the film is dedicated to Robert Downey Sr. And Robert Downey Sr. is one of the great cinematic transgressors kind of in American history. And so I think PTA is leaning into that as hard as he's kind of willing to. And I think the ending really speaks to that, as do a few other elements that I'm sure we'll get to. And in that regard, it's like, I don't know that you're not that transgressive to fully get all the way there for me. You know, it's like if you want to do the loose vibes, and I understand sort of this ironic push and pull of transgression and just really loose, vibey, loving movie, like you're saying, Dan, but I wish there was a little more bite to this one. And I feel like there is a bite, but it's like just for a second, and then it kind of goes away. And then it's like enough for people to get really pissed off about it and say something based on an extremely surface level sort of analysis of what the movie is saying. But there's other stuff going on there. I just wish there was more other stuff going on with some of this movie. But then if you just tell me you can watch one Paul Thomas Anderson scene for the rest of your life, I might just choose the Bradley Cooper, John Peters scene. You know, like all of this is scene by scene. It's like immaculate. I also think this movie looks unbelievably good. Just like mundane shots where it's like, oh my God, that's like absolute genius work going on here for like an establishing shot. But there's just that little part of it that's missing ever so slightly. So merely fantastic is my review of Licorice Pizza.
All right. Okay. Just merely fantastic. I really like this movie a lot. I vibed with it the first time I ever saw it. I think that it's always funny, right? There's a movie every year we watch and we get to see it ahead of time because we're very fortunate as critics to probably see it at a advanced screening, and it's just us in a room probably with other critics, and there's like 100 seats and there's like 6 of us in a room, and it's probably like not the most ideal way to watch a film from one of the great directors that we have of our times. But Jay, if you're trying to say something, you're muted right now.
I was on mute.
Yeah.
I was saying our critics group showed out for this one during the preliminary screening, because we saw this one right before our critics group voted, because for some reason the Atlanta group has decided they're going to be the second people to do their awards. Yeah. Because we want headlines, I guess.
You released those awards in September, correct?
Yeah, in August 15th. But this was one that everybody really wanted to see, obviously, before the awards, and it actually won our Best Picture award that year. So yeah, clearly that worked.
Yeah, clearly it worked. Get it right in under the gun, I guess, of y'all are like the 1st of December. It feels like right there with
it's New very York. Weird. It's like New York and then us.
Really stupid.
It's bizarre.
It's like I've always told Jay, I'm like, I don't get that one at all.
I agree with you for the
record. I just remember really vibing with it, and I remember I think it was our own Kevin Lee here at AwardsWatch told me, he's like, Ryan, you're gonna love it. And I go, well, why do you think that? He's like, well, if you like these sort of easy breezy kind of laid back hangout vibes of something
Linklater-y.
Well, he didn't say that. He said of like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Then this is kind of a movie that you're going to like, because it's just scene to scene, just kind of these things that are stitched together some, but overall, like there's just an easiness to it, right? Like Daniel, like how you're kind of describing it. It's all just, it's kind of charming, and it's just following these two through their everyday life. And it's, I vibe with the movies like that. Just like, give me the vibes, give me the setting and the feeling of what I'm supposed to be at. And, usually those stories are a little bit more convoluted than others. But in the hands of really confident directors, they can feel euphoric, and they can feel really different than movies that we've seen a lot. I think Dan's right in that this is a movie that, since I've seen it a lot, its companion is Boogie Nights in a lot of ways, not just because of its setting, but it's sort of how the movie is presenting it, or sort of looking at these characters. And while most of the film they're having a lot of fun, there's a lot of darkness under the belly of this movie, I think. And I don't think it's as dark as Boogie Nights. Like, that movie has some the second act is a very, very dark movie at times, and very scary. But there are a lot of moments in this movie where it's very scary, particularly for the Alana character, who I think is one of his great characters that he's written. And Alana Haim gives a masterful performance here. She's incredible. Should have been nominated for an Oscar, and probably even won the Oscar, because that's how great she is here. It would have been better than Tammy Faye. Josh,
those eyes though, Ryan, those eyes.
Yeah. It would have been better than it. I'm just saying.
Never saw that one.
You never saw the eyes of Tammy Faye?
Never locked eyes with old Tammy Faye.
Jay, you're missing out. Oh, you're missing out, Jay.
You know what, Jay? God has a plan for you, and it is that one day you will see the eyes of Tammy Faye.
Nah, the only
as she looks straight in your eyes and murders you for not seeing her movie.
The only religious content I'm taking in right now is that of Licorice Pizza's Skylar Gisondo, The Righteous Gemstones.
There you go.
Tying it in. Righteous Gemstones rocks.
I've never seen it. I heard it's. Is it really good?
That's a banger, Ryan. You know I don't watch much TV.
Yeah, he doesn't watch much TV. Though anytime Jay recommends a TV show, it's pretty good. So, okay. There's your recommendation for the week. You don't get one at the end of the episode. Sorry.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't. But I think that the more and more I've watched this over the years, the less and less I actually find it funny. And the movie, to me,
that's weird.
I feel like this movie is really sad, and
I think it's both.
I think I always walk away from this not feeling like in a happy, cheery mood. I feel very sad for Alana, because I think that we talked about this last week with Sophia, but I think he's made his last two films. He's made his most personal films today. I think that film, Phantom Thread, is a lot about the relationship dynamics that both Daniel Day-Lewis and Paul Thomas Anderson have with their wives. And this one is, I think, is a commentary or a conversation piece of a guy who's sitting in his house and watching his children grow up and seeing the world that they're around him and how it's not much different than the one that he grew up in and how kind of dangerous that is. I mean, his own kids are in the film, but how he's been around these characters, and for a boy, they are characters, you know, a mattress salesman or Sean Penn or, John Peters, they're characters to a boy, but to a girl, they're a nightmare. And I think that the way in which every single adult male in this movie,
that's the juice of the movie.
Is that every male that she comes across is either the most disgusting human being on the planet, or they want to try to sleep with her, and that then still makes them the most disgusting man on the planet. And the only saving grace left, sadly, and chance of hope is this dumb, moronic 15-year-old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
who thinks he's an adult.
Yes.
And who more
wants
adults
to be them.
treat like an adult.
Yeah.
And they treat the actual adult woman.
Exactly.
So, maybe, I don't know, maybe Paul Thomas Anderson is making a comment about how differently young boys and young girls are treated in this country.
But then, at the same time, too, with Gary, what do you hear like several people in the movie say to Gary? Like, you're a fighter, or like people are going to Alana, like, you're a fighter. Like that's the most valuable thing you can be, is like resilient and a fighter. And you can imagine Gary saying exactly that to somebody, but everyone that says that to him is the scum of the earth, like judgmental, like awful people. And so it really is
the
just
way
like
of the streets, Jay.
He's being molded into the same thing that Alana is now like so averse to, and you see it at the end with Wax, and how really she's like, this is the one, like this guy is giving me like real hope for the future. I'm starting to see someone who is sincere about their beliefs and actually values my time and my help, and then boom, once again, she's just a tool. And that's really the breaking point where you kind of, that's the transgression where all of a sudden she's like, I don't know, maybe he's 16 at that point, but like, I don't know, this 16-year-old guy, like he does care about me at least.
He's the only man in the film who is always honest with her.
Yes. Yeah.
Always, like to a fault.
Yeah. And I think then, and I mean, not to jump ahead to the ending, but immediately every single time she goes back to him, whether it's the waterbed scene, or whether it's working with him at the waterbed place, whether it's, the working with him in the business or any different aspects whatsoever, he always finds a way to fuck it up. And because he's a 15-year-old boy, the saddest part of this movie isn't even the ending, which is a sad notion.
The ending I find fairly, as much as it is presented as this optimistic, happy thing, I find it pretty, like you, Ryan, very, very sad.
Yeah, that's
really interesting.
But also, is that her really saying that, or is that Gary's mind saying that? Like, like there's.
It's absolutely in his head. It's absolutely in his head. I tell you, I have gone through that like 2 seconds of film like it's the fucking Zapruder movie. Like, her lips do not move in time with what is being said at all. It is in his.
Maybe PTA is just a bad filmmaker.
No, don't open up that rabbit hole. I'm not here for for those bad dumb opinions.
Never.
Okay, now see, this is interesting. I have not. Is this like a common theory that people have? Is that it is like the reality breaking?
Okay, so
I find that to be an excuse for not having to have the discussion.
No, I think and this is from what I read. Maybe Dan, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but this is one of the leading arguments for why this age gap in this film is icky, because at the end of the film, it is then suggested, because people don't know ambiguity or don't know how to like look and focus and pay attention anymore. It is suggested that she is saying that she's fallen in love with him. She's always been in love with him. And they're running off into the sunset together.
Yeah.
Even though
I find it as a very sad act of desperation.
I think that's exactly what it is. I think what's
so
even
weird. That's so interesting because I see the end as like kind of hopeful.
Yeah, but it's not going to last though, Dan.
But what did Alana say about the ending? She said,
no, but like,
what did she say, Jay?
Alana said about the ending. She said she imagines 2 seconds after the movie ends, Gary accidentally trips her, and then she leaves him again, and they probably this cycle just continues.
Well, that's the thing.
I mean, like that's true for all of his movies. I mean, like Punch Drunk Love, There Will Be Blood for parts of it. Certainly Phantom Thread. It's about two people. The Master. It's about two people locked in a relationship together that they every time like they may try to separate, but every time they're going to be brought back together and they'll end up separating again.
Yeah, it's all about power dynamics.
Shasta and Doc in advice too.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking of the power dynamics and kind of the transgression of the movie, again, I kind of the thing that I like about the ending is that it is trying to challenge you. Like I think there's inherent value in that. Like I think Straw Dogs, for example, a far more transgressive movie than this movie, but I think there's innate value in how hard that movie is pushing you. And here it's doing that to a much. Imagine if Straw Dogs came out today.
It wouldn't. Well, A24 would make it. That's for sure.
Yeah,
it would turn into Alex Garland's Civil War.
Jesus Christ.
But you talk about the power dynamics, and that scene is all about like they're kind of meeting in the middle here in this way that a lot of people are going to find problematic or whatever or inappropriate. But you see those dynamics at play. Obviously, the "Let Me Roll It" scene is probably the most celebrated scene in the movie. Maybe there's a ton of them that are so good. But the thing I took note of during that scene this time was that. So if you look at what's going on here, there's a 25-year-old who's in this kind of awkward will they won't they relationship.
Hang on.
Whatever her age is.
I'm going to say
25. She says she's 25.
Whatever.
Yeah, we got to clarify this because this is the thing. People have been putting this 25-year-old label on her. It's suggested that she's 25, 21, 20, maybe even, she's in the 20 to 25
The most we
range.
have textually is that she's 25-ish.
Yeah.
Everything else is an assumption.
She's in her early 20s.
20-something.
Yeah.
This 20-something-year-old girl with this 15-year-old guy. So where already you're like, this power dynamic is really weird. There's definitely something going on with like, it's less weird if the younger person is a guy than a girl, which is already this kind of conversation that you are having in your brain or with other people. And then there's this moment where she is asleep on this waterbed and he is looking at her longingly and he kind of sees this opportunity to like, I can feel her up a little bit right now with like no repercussions.
I can take advantage of her.
Yeah.
And he doesn't take it.
And he doesn't do it, but it is this weird thing where it's like, he is in control in that moment fully. And it's just this fascinating like gray area of
but in there lies the hope, right, Jay? The hope that she is hoping that Gary would be, in that she knows that even though yes he is immature, I mean she's even asking her sisters, right, like, is it weird that I hang out with Gary and his 15-year-old friends? Because I think it's weird. And her sister goes, basically, yeah, I mean, it's the 1970s. Who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like if you
see this, this is another thing that was, I read a lot of criticism about this, where it's like, is Paul Thomas Anderson using this is how things used to be as an excuse to just do this stuff and making it easier on the audience?
I think it's whatever makes
the Japanese accent. which is what he said in interviews. He was like, well, this is kind of how it was back then. And it's like,
I mean,
okay.
it's still kind of how it is now.
Yeah,
I mean, how many times do you see
in some cases? Yeah.
How many times do you see people that are trying to sell like used cars on commercials on television, and they're using the most inappropriate,
Oh my god!
I think the most egregious thing about that bit is that it's just not funny.
No, it's not. It's not supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be horrific.
Yeah,
and I think
not.
No, I don't think it's supposed to be for chuckles. I think that it's to start the thread of that every man in this movie is terrible, and then and even the interesting thing about that scene,
but they're often funny or terrible in funny ways.
I would argue that it's funny enough for the quick little scenes that he's in. But that's just me, and I laugh at literally anything John Michael Higgins does because I just find
I think it's purposeful to put the actor in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think if you really boil down that scene and really look and examine it, that other wife, the first wife that he has, because he replaces her. Why does he replace her? Because why? She has a point of view. She knows what she wants. She speaks up for herself. Not
that he can understand it,
that he can understand it, but
also she's still Asian and she can be the mascot of the restaurant.
Well,
I love that scene, that first scene particularly, because there's a close up on her face when Gary's mom is reading the part of the ad about the little hold on, I wrote this down in my notes. Because I liked what they said in the line that he says. What is it? Little doll waitresses.
Yes.
And it's close up on his wife's
eyes.
face. They like, you can feel it is a very slight, very subtle, but like very noticeable shift in her demeanor after that phrase is uttered, and from there you know that like, oh shit, like she is not okay with that. And then he comes out with the Miko-san, like, and it's just the oh no, this guy is ew.
And but Dan, that's the thing. It's like,
yeah, exactly. That's exactly the point of it.
Yeah.
And the whole point, like even this guy who like, he's presenting himself as so progressive and warm and a family man and gonna be, loving of the whole, he's presenting this authentic Asian experience, but he's just getting mail order brides from abroad to give his business more legit, in heavy air quotes.
Yeah, it's all about the PTA thing. One of his favorite things to explore is just like people as commodities, people as tools for profit, essentially. And that's kind of what he's doing here.
I mean, how is it that, I mean, like, what does Gary say to Alana when they're on their first date? That his mom works for him. It's not the other way around. Women in this movie are treated as commodities. And the one time that a woman stands up and says, no, that's not how we're going to put this on at our restaurant or my restaurant or whatever, then she's replaced. And I think that's interesting, because then it's Alana that says, I think it's Alana or it's Gary that introduces him, like, oh, they say the first wife's name, but then
it's Gary,
yeah, and it's like, no, this is different wife, different, that lady's not here anymore. She's out of the picture because she spoke up, because she spoke out of turn, because she had a point of view, because she,
or maybe she left him,
or maybe she left him, or whatnot.
We don't know.
But she is really, in a lot of ways, what Alana is trying to search for throughout this movie, in that she is searching for a point of view and a way to escape the circle that she goes on throughout this entire journey in this movie. She's trying to discover a way to get out of either being with a 15-year-old or get with someone of her own generation that isn't completely and utterly disgusting. Because from the beginning, like you're talking about, like Skylar Gizmodo, like that's kind of the closest she gets maybe to somebody that's decent, but he's from the beginning.
The guy, her old friend who works at Wax's office.
Yeah.
He's the closest.
No, but yeah, that's true. But then, like,
it is kind of interesting that that's never revisited.
Which one?
Well, yeah,
the
because
old
the movie
friend.
ends just right after that.
Well, but they like almost kiss. Then the other thing happens. Why didn't she go to him?
Yeah. Because because sometimes you don't see it right in front of you. And, even if
it
you're
is a
looking
movie of
for it.
impulse and like Dan was kind of saying, improv.
Well, it's also like a senator or what is he going to be? A mayor or
he's a councilman,
or whatever.
Yeah.
A politician is calling upon you to come to a restaurant in the middle of the night, and you've got this guy who's perfectly good enough right in front of you, and you can't see that because you'd rather run across the town to go and have a dinner, and you think that potentially that's going to change your life, and instead it's a complete nightmare. And that scene with her and the boyfriend, and
that's good stuff.
It's so
it's the kid.
good.
It's the kid from Jack Frost.
Yes. Okay.
God, Joseph Cross.
Jack Frost. That's a crazy movie.
Yeah.
Truly.
Do you know the story of the snowman and Jack Frost?
Oh, for God's sake!
Joseph Cross is so freaking good.
We're not doing the story of that. He is really good in the movie.
I love him in this movie, and I love Benny Safdie too. But like, how can you not love Joseph Cross in this? Like, you just want to like hug him. You just want to give him a hug, and I don't know, make him a nightcap.
But talk about somebody else that's in kind of like fed up with it and in control at the end. And it's like, I'm not pulling to hell with it. You're not coming over tonight. We're done. And it's heartbreaking for sure, but you can tell that like, yeah, he's being taken home by Alana, but he's not going to put up with this probably anymore. And
not for much longer.
But those are like the two people in the movie that as adults have tried to maintain some sort of faith in the world of the men around them.
Yeah.
And it's broken them.
Exactly.
Well, keep going.
No, I was just going to say that it's kind of, I like that he takes that and doesn't just make it like this exclusively female experience, and it also is like a male experience as well.
It's people that have power in the relationship. It's very much almost the flip of something like Phantom Thread. Those are about the tug and pull and someone gaining the power dynamics. This is somebody not able to obtaining it at all. And at that point, if you're not able to get the upper hand, how deeply sad and sadistic. I mean, the scene of this movie is her sitting on, it's after she drives the car and she gets them out of safety and everything. It's that great scene in the truck, in the truck, just wonderful scene.
So good.
But it's her sitting on the side of the road, and it's Gary and his friends like dry humping the gas pump, which is funny, but it's also, when you peel back the layers, it's like, Jesus, I'm either going over there where these ding-dongs are fucking humping a truck.
And I kind of have a crush on one of them.
And I kind of have a crush on this one. Or Peters walks right behind her, and she's
like
scared.
Peanut butter sandwiches?
You like peanut butter sandwiches?
You're literally committing acts of vandalism.
Yeah, acts of vandalism, but then also like being a complete slime ball. He's got a girlfriend and everything. And he's like, and oh man, when
I like Tail too much.
Yeah, when Cooper leans over her in the car or in the truck. When she's backing up, and he doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to do that. But like Cooper, I think he added that. Like he told her, he's like, yeah.
Bradley Cooper getting dragged on the internet these days.
But he's good in this movie, man.
Yes, he's great. I think he was my pick for like my personal supporting actor this year.
This was the one good performance he gave that year. Because Nightmare Alley came out, and he was not
Nightmare Alley. That movie is electric.
I love
talk about like propulsive, ripping the edge of your seats movie. Nightmare Alley.
Are you serious?
No, that movie's so boring.
I was here like, I know, right, Jay?
And then Dan's like, oh shit. Oh, okay.
But then realized like the second word in, like, oh no, he's kidding.
Yeah. No, I think the movie has a Cooper problem. And I think the rest of it's actually really good. But
interesting.
Kate Blanchett's great in it.
Oh, she's really well. Name a time Kate Blanchett isn't good.
I bet I can do it. Oh, I got it. What's that Sam Raimi movie she was in?
The Gift?
Yeah, bad.
Oh, she's very good in The Gift. Shut up.
See?
She's okay in it. I was just trying to think of a not very good movie she was in.
I mean, like, you can do that with any great actress. Julianne Moore,
Yeah.
The Seventh Son. You know what I mean?
She's great in that.
She is the seventh son of the seventh son. But yeah, this movie had controversy, guys.
It did.
It did, and I think
It knows what
It
it's doing.
it knows what it's doing. That's why I think he was so mad about it. I mean,
Do you know what the scene where she's auditioning with Sean Penn? Do you know what scene that is?
it's from Breezy, which
Yeah,
is
it's
about
from Breezy.
an actual May December
Yeah.
romance, and which is why like I get really like upset with people who are like the people who got like really up in arms about this movie. I'm like, you have like, I know that like it's the film that has not, like, no one knows that movie today, but like if you listen to PTA talk about what that movie is, or like do research yourself, like it's literally about a May December romance. This is not that. This is two young people making a connection with each other that I think, in my reading of the film, happens to at some point go into romantic territory, but I don't think either of them actually want that. I think this movie is about one of those relationships that you have when you're young that are formative.
Yeah.
But not in a romantic way. You can love someone without being in love with them. People can be important to you and have great impact on your lives while only being in them for a short time. And I think this movie isn't so much about their relationship as it is about the two of them growing up at the same time in the same place. But it's so important that they're both doing that growing up at the ages they are, because young men are taught, like Gary constantly is in this world, that the world revolves around them, that they have all the power, that they can do whatever they want, basically. And young women, even up to their early 20s, they are fed a diet of constantly contradictory images and ideas of what they should be, which, was so beautifully expressed by America Ferrera's character in Barbie earlier this year that I'm just not going to go into that because everyone knows that now. But like, there's something that is so, like you said, like there's something that's so kind of sad that they have to find this in each other because actual adults aren't good people. And that is sad. But the fact, and I think that this is the thing that I love about this movie, like the fact that they have each other. At the end of the movie, I like to think that it's a sign that like this relationship will save them from the fates of all the other adults in this movie.
Yeah.
Because all the other adults that we also see in this movie also don't really seem to have people that genuinely understand them in their lives. And they have each other, people that they do understand each other, I think, as much as they can. They may not be able to understand everything, but they get each other on some fundamental level that most other people in their lives don't. And like, remember too that Alana is coming from a conservative or Orthodox Jewish background. So she has literally been conditioned from birth that she is good for being nothing other than a wife.
Yeah.
But
the scene where Gisondo says he's an atheist is the best.
Oh my God. That scene, as soon as he opens his mouth at dinner and says, I'm an atheist, I have respectfully declined, I was laughing for the next 2 minutes straight because like I knew exactly what was coming from those parents. And it's so good. And like the chaos that ensues after she throws him out. Because the first, I love when she's like, "What does your penis look like?"
They say that twice.
It's so good.
They use that twice, and then both of the guys say normal.
Normal, I guess. And it's like, that alone is good. But then when she comes back inside and is like, "He was going to get me out of here. Don't you say a one word, Esty. I knew you were going to say something. You say things, you thinker." Like, Alana Haim's delivery in that scene is perfect. And I mean, for someone who has never acted in a part like this before, like, it's insane how good she is.
She is
in that moment. I'm
sorry, I was interrupting your good points with an aside, but I don't know if you even remember where you were at this point. But
I kind of remember. She's always, literally every adult in this movie is using her.
Yeah.
And people allow Gary to use them. I mean, how fucked up is that?
I think Gary wants to be used because I think Gary thinks that in some ways that's how the system works. That's how I'm going to get ahead. He's a schemer.
Mm-hmm.
He's always thinking of the next scheme. He's always thinking of the next idea. He goes from,
think about like, he's doing that in part because he doesn't have a dad. He is in a one-parent household. And he's been conditioned that there's guys, like, he's the oldest son.
Yeah, he's a hustler. He's got to move.
He's the man of the house. He's got to make the money. And he does. His mom works for him.
Yeah.
I have a question that just popped into my head.
Also could be something that he just says to Alana, because, like, I think that's a little, when she says she's going to Vegas, I don't think she's actually working for him, but whatever.
What do you got, Jay?
How many adult women have meaningful dialogue in this movie?
Maybe his
mom. Maya Rudolph doesn't really do anything, and then what's her name?
Harriet Simpson Harris.
Yeah, but her whole thing is that she's sort of adopted this perceived kind of masculine energy where she's like, you got to be a fighter. I mean, she's amazing in that.
I mean, her sisters
do.
Her sisters have meaningful dialogue.
They do, but they're sort of like,
but they're not kids. They're adults.
I know, but they're sort of in her same Arrested Development a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
No, I actually think that they're working with their parents, and they're, or STS at least, and she's very confident in who she is, even though, she's there. What's really funny is, like, they're not judging her at all. There is no judgment.
Well, SC judges her a little bit,
but she judges her for the boyfriend, not for Gary.
Yeah, not for Gary.
Not for Gary.
No, they don't judge that at all.
They don't judge it at all. They're like, you know what? Yeah. Okay.
What is that trying to say? That there is something to be said for settling for that way of life?
I think it's that they don't see Gary as like a threat, or they don't think, and especially not a threat to them.
He's just a kid.
Because Essie's in that moment, she's like, she doesn't want Alana to have him as a boyfriend in a lot of ways too.
Well, there's also, if you first hear about that, you're like, well, obviously this is like, they're not going to date. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, like, she's going to date a TV star, like, or, be in a movie or whatever. Like, their sisters, they would be extremely jealous. But, like, Gary, oh, you mean the guy that had the Phil water mattress thing, and now the Phil ping pong thing, and had the Phil this and the Phil that? Yeah, you can go hang out with him all the hell you want, because it's going to make them feel better about their lives. It's inherently sad about their own sister, but it's going to make them feel, oh, I'm still at home and working at my parents' business. Well, it's a hell of a lot better and more stable than whatever the hell my sister is doing, hanging around with a 15-year-old and his dumbass friends. So it's in both ways, because Danielle's different.
But again, I'm going to say like a 15-year-old who is constantly allowed to start his own businesses.
Yes. No, I get it.
Whereas these adult women are not allowed to do anything on their own. Yeah. Like, this whole movie is about, like, throwing that into sharp relief, how differently we treat young men and young women, and the fact that people don't want to engage with that because they're so caught up in a 10-year age gap is wild to me. Like, you don't actually want to talk about what the movie is actually about. You want to talk about an issue that is arguably not even an issue in the movie because they're not in love.
I think it's
there is romantic interest.
But it's really from one side. It's really from Gary's perspective. It's because sure it would be because it's from the 15-year-old who's
the final scene of the film.
He kisses her.
Implies at least some mutual romantic interest. Paul Thomas Anderson is doing that very deliberately. He is doing it with those people being at those ages very deliberately. And I think that's fine, but you can't just dismiss it as it's not there. It's in the text. I think it's important.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you, Jay. I think from Gary's perspective, you don't just go and say, that's the woman I'm going to marry, and say that multiple times.
No, I'm not.
Film.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Alana's very confused. And that's why I do find it kind of sad at the end, is it's just like, she once again has been, the football has been pulled away from Charlie Brown once again.
That's exactly what this movie
existence of a crummy man in the world who's trying to exploit her just like everybody else. And so it's like, this is like the one person who's nice to me. Like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? And so she does this, in my opinion, fairly rash thing that you can come to your own conclusions about what happens after the movie. But I am inclined to believe that it's like, at the very least, this like cycle of things that she will continue to regret, but she keeps getting pounded into the ground by other forces. But I also think part of what the movie is saying is like, Gary is kind of going through the machinery of what everyone else who's exploiting her has been going through.
The unspoken question that the movie is asking is, which of these men is Gary going to grow up to be?
Exactly.
And it is my fervent hope when we get to the end of this movie that he continues to be just as singularly himself as he is throughout the whole of this movie.
Is there a template for that person in this movie who is an adult?
Well, I mean, not many of them have their own table at the Cock of the Walk. Or whatever the damn restaurant's called or whatnot.
Tail of the
cock. That's what.
Matthew Joseph Cross's character is as close as we get. He's relatively, happy of who he is. He doesn't want to settle for someone who's not going to accept him for who he is. I mean, he obviously can't be quite as open about who he is given the time and circumstances, but that's about as close as we get. And I think there is there is some intent there, being that he is the last person that Alana speaks to before she goes back to Gary.
Yeah, but I think again though too, even though there is the hint of romance, and there is. I mean, there's in any relationship.
Absolutely.
I mean, in a relationship that is so young and so fresh and so new, even if it's like this takes over a year or 2 years or whatever the timeline of this movie is, there's going to be a moment where there's a crush or that's the whole thing, the whole idea. And conceit of this movie is
this is not Lolita by any stretch. I'm not saying that.
This is a movie of a boy sees a girl.
But I think there were people who treated it like
I agree. That's not even worth discussing.
Weird.
I mean, that's not what we're talking.
No, it's not. But the idea of this movie is, and this is the problem that I had with the whole discourse, is, are you telling me that every person that had a problem with this discourse never had a crush that was older than them when they were growing up? They never had a poster on a wall. They never had somebody that they saw in a magazine. They never had somebody that was
never had a babysitter.
Never had a babysitter. Never had something that was unobtainable that they could never get in their wildest imaginations. And that's what Gary sees in line for picture day. He sees the girl of his dreams. He sees a girl that he wants to get to know, that he wants to have dinner with, that he wants to impress. And you know what? It actually happens. So this whole movie is about what actually happens when the girl shows up at dinner and she's like, what the fuck am I doing here?
But
and the movie's not interested solely in his perspective. The movie is entirely looking at it from her perspective and the decision to go to said dinner. Why did she go? The movie is trying to answer that throughout the whole film. And I think that is inherently fascinating. I think that's great cinema right there. That's what you want in a movie.
What it's not doing is like giving you the easy answer where it's like, this is wrong. It's like, this is a weird fringe thing that is very complicated. And people are like, oh, why does he like totally approve of 25-year-olds and 15-year-olds being together? And you know, on the other side of the spectrum, it's like, what was that movie called? Red Rocket? Was that the?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Which that is explicitly like, this is bad.
Yeah, it is very explicitly like this guy is super creepy and destroying this young woman's life. Yeah. Whereas this one just is not interested in answering that question because it wants you to sit in the discomfort.
They came out the same year, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
2021.
Yeah,
and yet right. This is the one because I think
but Red Rocket is giving you the answer though.
That's no. I think, but yes, I understand that, Jay.
Yeah,
but this is the one that got more people angry than even something like a Red Rocket, which gives you the answer and it's disturbing. And there was no.
That's the mild transgression.
It's not the one that people have talked about ever since it's come out for the last. And it does help.
Well, because it does help that it's Baker, also, but he's not Paul Thomas.
I was just gonna say that, Dan. Thank you. I was like, he's. It's probably because it's from PTA, but I mean,
and it's a major studio. This was released in a lot of theaters.
MGM
was being talked up for award. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I get it. I think my thing, I saw a lot of people who were able to look past the age gap and say, like, I just don't see a 25-year-old hang out with 15-year-olds, say, I was a 20-year-old girl and I would never do that, et cetera, and like, totally valid, but, and like, granted, this is not true for me either, but like, we didn't live in the Valley in the 1970s.
Yeah, and I
like
think there is
Paul Thomas Anderson did, and it is like, it's a little like, I get that it's not the most satisfying answer. The whole like, it was a different time thing, and that can be very hand wavy and feel like an excuse.
Convenient, yeah.
But in this case, I actually think it is kind of an explanation
for that. For that element, I agree with you.
Yes.
Yeah, just because like it was a different time. Relationships were different. This was also a time when like kids were just allowed to run around the whole town unsupervised. Mm-hmm. And like, when was the last time parents really let their kids do that these days? Like, it's just not like kids were starting their own businesses. Like that's not something that most kids do nowadays. It was in every way a very different and very unique time and place. Yeah. And I think this is a movie that is just as much about the time and place that would allow something like this to happen, and also allow it to remain mostly innocent, because there are many other versions of the story where she does seduce him and they do sleep together, or he does actually like seduce her or takes advantage of her. Mm-hmm. And neither of those things happen in this movie. What happens is that he is super interested because this is a beautiful older girl who actually talks to him. Let's be honest, he's not the coolest guy, even though he's got no game.
He's got no game.
It's no game. So like, he has seen this girl, asks her out, and she has literally no better options because all men suck. And and you see it on her face in that whole opening scene, like, God, this kid is an idiot, but he has charm. He's entertaining. at the very least, he's interesting. So, okay, at the very least, I get a free dinner out of it. And she goes, and he is literally acting like an adult the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Like even the questions he asks her, like, so what are your plans? Like that is what your Aunt Becky asks you when you go home for the holidays, you know, like that's
right
not
after
what
the photographer slapped her butt in the gym.
Right. Oh my God. So like you literally see, it literally shows you this is a sweet boy who wants to get some, but he's also nice. And this is her literal employer smacking her on the ass at work.
Yeah. I mean,
these are her options.
I mean, how many
1970s SoCal?
I mean, how many stories, Dan, have we heard about from actresses, from people of the past, bringing up over the last 5-10 years, and since Me Too, since Time's Up, and everything, and there have been stories about how the casting couches or the way in which sets were. I mean, the way in which actors and people, I mean, there's been tons of stories.
Yeah, so that applies to actors and high school yearbook photographers.
But if it's happening,
it's just varying levels of power. I mean, truly.
But no, Jay, I mean, I know you're being...
I'm not being facetious. I mean, I'm telling you, if that photographer had the ability to employ the most beautiful woman in the world, he would probably...
He would. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you were going a different way. But no, I mean...
No.
And I mean...
Well, then on top of that, you know, like, Harriet Sansom Harris, she says very emphatically, you will lose out on work if you're not willing to go nude.
Yeah.
And she has embraced that world.
Yeah,
which is why she is in a position of power.
And who's the one to like tell her, don't do nudity? Don't do nudity. Like,
Scary.
Who's telling her to do it? It's Gary.
Gary.
And yes, it also comes from, you have to acknowledge also too, Dan, he's a sweet boy. He also has an agenda of his own.
He does. He absolutely does.
Because you want to know why?
Because he's always honest about that agenda.
But you want to know why? Because he's 15 fucking years old. Like,
exactly.
Like he's a mature 15-year-old.
Exactly.
We can have it both. You can have sometimes, folks.
There's probably something to be said for him not having a father figure in his life.
Yeah,
but there's also something to be said for the fact that like maybe he's more of an adult at 15 than most of the actual adults in this movie.
Yeah, I mean the idea of
for sure. There's a level of heightenedness to the universe of this movie for sure.
Yeah, I mean for sure it is. But that's why it's both a work of fiction, but it's also there's a lot of truth in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the John, like the Peter stuff, a lot that's real. All that's like
of this is from what's his name, Gary
Valentine.
No, the
real
guy.
guy.
His story. He was a child actor turned
and
pretty big time producer.
And he did like, didn't he do like a Star is Born or was it
John Peters did?
John Peters did that. That's right.
Yeah.
No, what movies did he do?
Who, Gary Getz?
Yeah,
I'll look it up.
Yeah,
he did.
Here it goes a tangent.
What is it? Room for One More? Not Room for One
Gary
More.
Getzman. Sorry.
Yeah, Gary Getzman, and he ended up producing Tom Hanks's.
Yeah, he did a bunch of Hanks stuff.
Yeah, that's right. But
he produced A Man Called Otto. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, that's right. I knew it was something recently that he just did. But no, for me, I think that as I watch this movie again, I think that you can have it both ways. I think that Gary can be...
my man produced Big Fat Greek Wedding. That dude is dining out
every night.
Dale the cock. He's getting a steak every night, baby. All those sequels too. Woo. But
he was a demi guy too. So obviously PTA loves him.
Oh, obviously. And I mean, his stories are interesting. I mean, it is interesting that this guy had all this happen to him. But then I think back to it, like, yes, you can have a 15-year-old who shouldn't be doing any of this, but he also he's a fighter. He's a survivor. He's doing what he can out there. He's really smart, and he's capitalizing on things at the time. Like the whole ping pong thing is actually really, really a smart
pinball,
thing.
you mean?
Yeah, or pinball. Yeah, that's a really, really smart thing to.
Incredibly smart.
Yeah. And it seems like a very profitable business at the end for him. but it also seems like completely out of his control once like the bikes are there, right? And he's throwing the bikes out of the way. And
I love that part where he won't confront the adult and then he just immediately like picks up a little kid and throws him out the front door.
Yeah, it's like because the whole movie,
because that's the power he can have. Yeah.
All of the adults around him have been treating him like he is an adult. And this one guy says, fuck off, I'm playing the pinball machine. And he's not able to, because he doesn't know how to assert himself in that way. He's never had to do it before.
One of the few times he's a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's one of those, it's he and Alana finally in that last scene are on the same page.
Yeah.
They're finally thinking the same things. They're finally realizing the same thing about the world around them and life. And that's why they literally run right into each other at the end.
They pull a punch drunk love.
Yeah, because they're finally on the same page. They finally are thinking about the same thing. They finally see the world in maybe not exactly the same way, but in a similar enough way where they understand each other. And that's what I think their connection is. Like, yes, there is absolutely a romantic undercurrent there, but the point of this movie is not the romance. The point is the world around them.
Yeah, the world
how
view.
It treats them differently.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah, so it's like for the first time, Gary is seeing how miserable the men are, and then for the first time, Alana is seeing how hard it is to be like a sensitive guy.
Yeah.
And then they kind of like are on the same wavelength. Yeah. I like that.
I think the reason why people just got so upset about this is it goes back to your point at the beginning of this the review, Jay. Is this is the first time people online went through also a PTA movie and had to talk about it.
It's also just the infantilization of humanity. But
but his movies, like imagine The Master.
They're always thorny.
They're always thorny. They all like, but like they're discussion pieces, and the idea of just putting it down as
the point.
Well, but the idea of just
especially with this movie,
but to water it down to the age gap makes him, because I saw a lot of this. It makes him, when people are going out there with the extremes online saying because of the Asian jokes or the way in which Gary looks at the girl selling in the water bed, there's racial implications there that PTA is
he's doing the demi close up.
That the age gap is signaling pedophilia, that there's all these sort of insidious mentality behind the filmmaking and everything. And it goes back to, and also this movie is funny, and this is a movie that he made really with.
That's what makes people so uncomfortable, though, is that it is so breezy, and yet it has this thorny stuff in it. So they're like, "Oh, it's endorsing all of this."
Yeah, and then and almost like honestly, the way in which
the whole comedies aren't allowed to be serious ever thing.
But it feels like
except for A Man Called Otto, of course.
Of course.
But it feels like a movie out of the 70s that the church would go after, and that no one actually watched it, or if they did watch it, they didn't understand the intent behind it. It feels very like, you know what I mean? Like when the religious groups get after a movie and you're like, come on, it wasn't that bad.
There have been some recent ones.
It feels like this ginned up thing that is just to rile people up
and to get attention.
And to get attention online, and it's actually
without having to be intellectually curious whatsoever.
Yeah, and this man has the other thing about it that PTA talked about was like, of course, the stuff with John Michael Higgins has happened because he has family members that are Asian, and that it continuously happens. And then obviously what's happened during the COVID and the rise of anti-Asian language and by people that are completely terrible, much more terrible than anybody in this movie really is in the modern era. But then obviously he has, his kids are African American, for Christ's sake, and they're in the film. They're the people that go on a date with Gary in this movie, and he's making a movie with his family. Like, that's the other thing, that he's making this movie that obviously he also has like the families of like half the directors in Hollywood. Yeah, he's like making almost like something just to get their kids out of the house, so that they can like stop bothering their parents. And instead, he's made the most.
Sasha Spielberg is in this, right?
Yeah.
He's made
Leo
the most.
DiCaprio's dad.
But that's so interesting that Tarantino did the
mattress guy.
same trick in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
And another film that people
with all the daughters of
completely went crazy with and didn't misinterpret at all. You know what I mean? Or take and put their own things, projecting their own things on a film instead of actually looking at the film. Because if you just look at the film, he's trying to get under his skin a little bit, and he's trying to provoke conversation.
Being a little stinker, bit.
He's always been a little stinker.
I know. I kind of like that. He's kind of going back to like his Boogie Nights.
He's going back to this guy with the cigarette coming out of the screening a little bit, and that's the guy that Maya Rudolph fell in love with, So
he's embracing his youth both, textually and then as well as in the filmmaking. So storytelling.
No,
I like it.
It's got a good soundtrack.
Nah.
The great soundtrack.
It's got
flawless soundtrack.
I listen
Quentin
to it all the
Tarantino could never.
All right, okay.
Look, I
love
this soundtrack because without using, there's one really overused music cue in this movie.
Which one?
Life on Mars.
Life on Mars. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you used to
great song though.
Which perfect song for that moment in the film with the gas shortage. But I really love this because it sounds like the 70s, but other than Life on Mars, these are not overused cuts. These are songs that are not really used in film, at least all that often.
Yeah, that's fair. They're known hits, but they're not used a lot.
Yeah.
There's plenty of music Tarantino uses that's pretty.
Yeah.
He will absolutely go for more obscure stuff, but he will also not shy away from the most obvious cues either. And I feel like this one really does a good job of staying away from all the really obvious cues.
Yeah. No, for sure.
It has the same thing as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for me, which is it uses the song Life on Mars from the incredible trailer that this movie had when it first came out, and uses
Boogie Nights is now that's what I call music 1978.
Exactly.
It is.
It's like, how many ELOs can I use in a movie? I'm just gonna no, for sure. And it's kind of like he'd used it a little bit in Inherent Vice, but it feels the closest to Boogie Nights as like a actual needle drop soundtrack that we've had in a while. And Tarantino and PTA are friends because they share the love of saving the celluloid and all that stuff. So it's not surprising that those are probably two of the best we have in needle drops.
Right? We never talked about.
What was it?
Is it Alanis Morissette who said that she knew she wanted to stop doing cocaine when she was hanging out with Paul Thomas Anderson and Quentin Tarantino, and they wouldn't shut the hell up?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Good for her.
It's a great story. Great anecdote.
Well, it's the last episode. You got to bring up. It's the last episode of the BTA.
I know. We got to get them all out now.
Got to bring them all out now. You guys have anything else about Licorice Pizza?
Oh my God, so much else.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about the Tom Waits Sean Penn sequence, which is so immaculately staged.
I got
it looks like freaking like Hearts of Darkness, Apocalypse Now.
It does
as they're setting up the motorcycle jump.
First, the look on her face when he finally pulls up to Tail of the Cock in the motorcycle after they drove over from the audition, that is just like the trauma of just the car ride over is almost too much for her. And then as soon as they go in, I'm just like, I've never had a martini before.
Yeah.
They're good. Again, she has the best line readings in this movie. When he says to her, and they're about to go out, he's like, "You remind me of Grace." And she look at her face. Kelly.
Ladies and gentlemen, Grace Kelly.
Oh, and Tom Waits.
His entrance through the smoke is truly one of the great movie entrances of the last decade.
It's so good.
so good. It's so good.
But I will say one thing.
Tom Waits pulling it out of the Altman bag once again.
I will say, but I will say, I wasn't the particularly biggest fan of a Penn.
I think Penn. I used to hold that opinion. I think he's good.
You think he is?
Yeah, I think he's good because he's a prick.
Yeah, this.
I mean, he is.
Used
to
be my least favorite scene in the movie. Now it's not, and it's really because of his performance. Because I think he's having a hammy old time.
He is. He's going for it.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be somebody else, wasn't it? If I'm not mistaken, I think.
Who?
I can't remember.
Probably Philip Seymour Hoffman.
We
we haven't even talked about Cooper Hoffman either.
Yeah,
I mean, what
how?
Just the very fact that he's in this movie. I remember reading that for the first time and like just getting goosebumps.
Yeah.
And then for him to be good, I don't think he's unbelievably good in this movie, but I think he's good and honestly kind of appropriate for the guy who is sort of always being a performer, but not always being great at it. It kind of works. It's kind of like PTA perfectly molded a character for him, which is awesome. And now he's going to be in what, that new Cha-Cha Real Smooth guy.
Oh yeah, in the new Cooper Rafe.
Yeah, he's in the new Cooper Rafe movie. Yeah.
Your favorite guy, Jay?
Cooper Rafe. Yeah, he slid in my DMs one time.
Oh yeah.
Called me a douchebag.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Spicy.
Off of a Letterboxd review.
Ooh.
It was crazy.
Shout out Letterboxd. Shout out Cha-Cha Real Smooth.
Wow.
Yeah, it was for his first one.
Shit House.
Yeah,
Aww,
one of
I like
the
Shit
worst
House.
titles of a movie in history.
That is true. Unfortunately,
For that
Anyway,
movie,
lovely movie.
Cooper Hoffman, just charming as hell, and it really does. Just another reminder of just how much I miss old PSH. He's one of my all-time faves. And you know who they bring back as Herman Munster?
Oh, they brought back John C. Reilly.
John C. Reilly, work with PTA more. Let's do it.
Do it.
That was such a lovely, like the first time I saw this, like, wait, rewind. Was that John C. Reilly under a Herman Munster costume?
And yeah, that is one of those things where it's just like, oh, they're still friends. That's neat. Nice to know.
Just with that, with that voice. I was, it's a true story. The first time I ever went to, when I went to LA and I met Eric, I think it was last year, we went to Musso and Frank's, the night, the night before AFI started, and we walked in and we were just trying to locate our table, and the guy that walked up paying for his bill was John C. Reilly. And he was wearing
Ralph himself.
Yeah, and he was wearing exactly what you think he would be wearing. He was wearing a hat and a denim jacket, and he looked very, very, very John C. Reilly. But he was very nice. A very nice guy. And yeah, I wish he would work more with PTA. He was in those early films, and he killed it.
I do think PTA really made a conscious
effort to get away from the Altman,
not have his crew in every single movie.
Yeah.
The PTA repertory players.
Yeah.
But damn it, they're so good when they're in his movies.
They're
so good when they're in his movies. I mean, like
Luis
I guess,
Guzman.
I mean, like Harriet Sansom Harris is in the last two movies, and she kills it.
Yeah.
She totally different role.
He's got kind of
Please
his
just
new,
always give her one scene in every movie you do. Just one scene.
I mean,
he's got some new. I mean, Joaquin, he's worked with a bunch now.
I mean, Maya's been in 2 of the last 3 films. I mean, technically
that's like a fun little.
Well, I mean, she's also his
married.
wife.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, she's got to get work too. No,
but he stopped being like, I'm going to make Robert Altman movies, and I'm going to do them with my friends for the rest of time. He was like, nope, Punch Drunk Love. Let's try something different.
But I kind of
never really go back.
But I kind of wish he would make one more.
I would love to see him do a big ensemble again. I guess he was close with Inherent Vice.
I think he's going to kind of do it maybe with the next one. I mean, supposedly it's like Leo.
it seems like that. Yeah.
Regina Hall and Joaquin, and it seems like a big cast again, which is great. You know what I mean? Like, give PTA all the big movie stars, because he can direct the shit out of them.
He could have done it already, though. He's been interested in other stuff.
Yeah, but I think
because everybody will work for him for cheap.
I know, but I mean, Leo's one of Leo's biggest regrets is that he's not made a movie yet with PTA. I mean, he was supposed to be Dirk Diggler, for Christ's sake.
And we maintain that would have been a worse movie.
It would have been a bad decision. Yeah. At the time. I mean, nowadays, like, I would love to see Leo in a PTA movie, but center it around him, right? It's specifically.
I'd love to see Leo work with literally anybody else other than the directors he's worked with for the past decade.
I don't know. I think the director said, I mean, obviously, I think
not that I haven't enjoyed them, but I want to see. He
some variety.
Particularly is an actor that I think needs to be pushed by directors that
he needs to be Adam McKay's muse.
No, I think
Jay, you take that back right now.
But Dan, I think in the last decade he found someone that he's actually worked the best with throughout his career, and it's not Scorsese, it's Tarantino. Because his work in Django and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is really great. So yeah, when he takes those risks, that's the thing, is he needs to take more risks with those big directors. Like even Inception. Like
when has he done safe stuff? Last like 15 years.
I mean,
I will say that he has only. There are some actors who will jump at the chance to work with any auteur. They don't care if the project is good or bad. Nicole Kidman. DiCaprio tends to work with the safest pre-selected canon of cinema auteurs.
Well, now he's working with Marty and having input on the script
almost
because he's the producer now. You know what I mean? So. Well, he doesn't make that many films anymore, he never has. No, he never really has. He's always been super duper selective.
Even after Titanic, he rejected being the Titanic guy.
Yeah, well, he purposely went for he wanted to go for big dramatic roles because he got that taste of the awards fever and he wanted that Oscar, damn it, and
let's make him
have the next 2 decades of cinema to thank.
Yeah, but but he made Catch Me If You Can and Gangs of New York then started working with Scorsese. I mean, Gangs of New York's not great, but he started working with Scorsese.
But that's what I'm saying. So he wants to do auteur work. Okay, who are the 2 auteurs you would most expect someone like that to work with? Yeah, Scorsese and Spielberg.
But who are the kind of modern auteurs now, if not like somebody like a Nolan and a Tarantino,
Adam McKay, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, he makes.
Give me Leonardo DiCaprio and a Coen
Baz Luhrmann.
Give me Leo he's worked with with Baz Luhrmann before. Baz Luhrmann was Baz Luhrmann.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Dan, give me a Coen Brothers movie, period, because they aren't together anymore right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair.
No, actually, the Leo thing is the Billy Eichner for $1 name a woman is for Leo. It's work with a woman. Same with Adam Driver. You know what I mean? So work with a woman.
Yeah.
Female director wouldn't kill. Actually, like Leo, Greta Gerwig, he could play Aslan in the Narnia movies. Leo as a lion. Leo the Lion?
Let's see.
Let's do it.
If Greta Gerwig goes through with the Narnia thing, I'm going to be very upset.
You know what I say?
You know what? You do this every time, Jay. You do this every time. You do this with Little Women. You do this with Barbie. You're like, I did. I pull it off, and then she pulls it off. So you're the one online. Everybody else is like everybody else.
Here's my hot take. I hope Greta Gerwig never makes a movie as not great as Barbie ever again.
Okay.
I like Barbie, but she's above Barbie.
Talk about like the mental gymnastics.
That's my take.
Just went through right
there. That was
because I think it's a good movie, but I think she's capable of more.
I mean, when it's your third,
it's a hugely important movie, and it made $1 billion,
$1.5 billion, and when it's your third best movie and it's still a pretty good movie, like you can't.
Yeah, but it's her third movie. My thumb is my 5th best finger. It's only because I have 5 fingers.
Oh my god! All right, see how you are. See how you are. Lower tier PTA tonight. Third.
Wait, your thumb is your 5th best finger?
I don't know.
Try
it was the first finger I thought
about.
Survive.
I think the pinky is
my personal. I have an elite pinky. Personally, I have an elite.
No one has ever
I'm going to need to see Jay's wife's opinion about this.
Let me just say this. Let me roll it.
Oh, here we
Okay.
go.
Oh my
right.
God, I can't believe I just did that.
Yeah. Last thing on Licorice Pizza for both of you. I mean, we haven't even talked about Cooper. That whole sequence.
Yeah, it's the best.
It's the
Barbara
best.
Streisand.
Why did they? I will. I think Sophia said it last week, but the whole scene at the gas station that Cooper goes crazy. That's only in the
they cut it
credits.
out. Yeah,
they cut it out, and it's because of Sean Penn. So fuck Sean Penn.
Is it?
Yeah,
Really?
Sean Penn suggested it to him. Yeah, I went and looked it up. That's absolutely correct.
Fascinating.
Like, you don't need that in there.
Pretty cool that
like,
Sean Penn is giving Paul Thomas Anderson direction advice.
The man that's only made one good movie as a director.
And that is like, I don't know.
I haven't seen Into the Wild in a long time, but I assume it's probably hasn't aged well, I guess.
I assume it's the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah.
But like, if that's the case, then like, I agree with Sean Penn on that. The Bradley Cooper section is my least favorite section of.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Wow.
Because Are you fucking kidding me?
Is it because it feels like a movie?
I not so much that it feels like a movie, but like it does feel like that. The scenes with him, just like, for me, it goes on too long.
Oh, they're fucking funny as hell. I don't know.
And that's the thing. Like, I think he's really funny for like the first little bit of it, but then it keeps going on, and it's just the same joke over and over again. And I'm just like, okay, I get it.
But we did say he does serve a thematic purpose as well.
Yes,
Big
absolutely.
Yep. I will kill your whole family.
And it
works. My God, I kill your. No gasso in the car,
Steve-O. Right.
And you know what, Gary? I have gas in my car because I'm not a good for nothing fuck up like you.
Yes. Look at us. Look at me.
Ryan We're both the same. As the assistant Steve is so great. The way he immediately gets fun. Yes, Mr. Streisand. Oh, he's on the way. Mm-hmm. I learned that there's and they got you waterbed. I really love when he says to Streisand, like, I don't know, it's 4 little boys and a girl or a young woman. I don't really know what she is.
I also like when he's just like, I used to work with Julie Andrews.
Yes,
she was difficult.
Not care less.
Yeah, he would. Oh my God, he's great.
Oh, he's hysterical.
But it's truly terrifying when you see you don't that cut of seeing Alana and Gary's face, and you don't know what it is, and just that little white outfit, all white outfit, just walking up that fucking hill. Okay. Turn around, and everything. Oh, he's so good. Cooper's so good. And then the idea, it's the kind of like chaotic performance you want to see from him, and how he gets the lighter and points it at the at the gas pump, and
it's my nozzle.
It's my
nozzle now.
It's so good. No, I mean, like, I get it.
I like Cooper, man. He's so
Coops is good.
earnest.
I like Cooper.
I do not like Maestro at all.
100% committed.
He's into it.
I'm gonna just keep saying this. Like, there have been far thirstier people in the world than Bradley Cooper who ever wanted an Oscar. Glenn Close,
Leonardo DiCaprio.
That's true.
Glenn Close is like
Raw Bison Liver himself.
Yes, I mean, we had to go to the northern tip of the world.
Well, Leo did it. Snow. Leo did it on screen. I guess Cooper did it on screen too, but also off screen.
Yeah, I just like, it's the thing of my favorite thing.
Like, I don't really care. I just want Killian to win, because Killian will never win one if he doesn't win this year.
Yeah, but that's the same thing.
You don't know that.
That's the argument everyone always makes in every category every year, where it's like,
I saw somebody posted about the last like 10 years of best actor winners, and showed, oh my God,
it's rough.
It is abysmal.
There's 2 out of 10 that I would say are really good, and the rest I could throw away.
Which is why I'm like so scared that this year I like every single one of the most likely nominees, and I'm like, how are they going to fuck this up?
Yeah, who are they?
Because they always fuck up.
Jay, the answer is it's Casey Affleck and Anthony Hopkins.
But look, the thing is that the lead actor in this movie is great.
Yeah.
And we should, I don't know, I can't wait to see what Cooper Hoffman does next. I think this was a perfect part for him, and like you're never going to get a better start to your career than working on a movie like this. But
Nepo baby.
I he has such
Nepo baby.
really like natural charisma, just like his dad did. And
He does.
I'm really looking forward to see what he does next. Alana too. I don't know why she hasn't been in anything yet, but
she's touring the world. She's a rock star.
Well, you know what? She's a better actress than she is a rock star. I said it.
Wow.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong, but
the Haim family really all played ball on this one.
Well, you know that the whole thing.
Funny.
Well, you know that the mom, their mom, I think was like PTA's like substitute teacher or babysitter or something like that.
Yeah, there's some sort of familiar relationship.
And he had like a crush on her, and then so that's how he knew her and stuff like that. So that's where a little bit of all this
now instead of making movies, he makes Haim music videos.
Exactly.
I really, as soon as I saw that it was their actual dad playing the dad, I knew we were in for a good time. And yeah, this is my favorite PTA ensemble that he's ever put together.
Ooh.
And if you're asking me if it's just because it's the whole entire Haim family playing the Haim family, yeah, that's
probably.
What is his best ensemble, Jay?
I mean, it's hard to
Boogie
not
Nights?
say Boogie Nights or Magnolia.
Yeah. Though
we'll go with Boogie Nights just because of the Burt Reynolds of it all, but
Inherent Vice, those got
this
pretty
is my
good
favorite though. That is a pretty good cast too.
Yeah, just the central core of the master.
Of Phantom Thread, frankly.
Yeah, he's really good. Hey, shocking news. He's really good at casting.
Yeah, right.
more stray thoughts. Licorice Pizza is a movie about a young woman surrounded by men, and Phantom Thread is a movie about an older man surrounded by women.
There you go.
I was thinking about Phantom Thread actually a lot while watching this movie.
I think this is very much in conversation with that, and Punch Drunk Love.
Oh, absolutely. Because I love it because Punch Drunk Love is about how like the conventions that we always see in romantic comedies are actually kind of psycho in real life, and we would actually run away from those people.
Yeah.
And how Phantom Thread is like, yeah, maybe all relationships are a little fucked up.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of like,
I love how it's literally Phantom Thread Jr. They are playing the same kinds of games that Alma and Reynolds play with each other, only because they're younger, they're not using deadly potential mushrooms.
As sophisticated or weaponized, literally weaponized.
Right. Yeah, literally weaponized.
They're just using ultra petty shit. Like when he's does the
cigarettes.
The cigarettes, yeah.
Or when they're not as emotionally hardened, so in Phantom Thread they have to use physical weapons.
Yes.
Like,
yes. Gastrointestinal warfare.
Like an omelet.
Yep. Here it's just strictly psychological, I know you are, but what am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Hoffman's incredible here. There are moments when you it's the certain ways he looks at the camera, certain ways that he little smiles or whatnot. It is his dad, and it's hot, and it makes me really emotional every time I see it. His dad was, I think, my favorite actor of all time when he was around, and yeah, to see him there, and it must have been really emotional for PTA. It was for me when I first saw the film. It was almost just like we were getting something back that we lost. And it ultimately, yeah, you're right, Dan, like perfect person to start Cooper. There's no one else I would want Cooper Hoffman to start his career off with than Paul Thomas Anderson. It means so much.
Michael Bay would have been cool.
I mean, for everyone. But
just Cooper Hoffman instead of Jake Gyllenhaal in Ambulance.
Sure, I would love to see Cooper Hoffman sing "Sailing" with Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. And Alana Haim. I mean, yeah, she's incredible here. A performance that
she's so natural.
Yeah,
both of them.
It rivals, I think, Joaquin and Daniel Day-Lewis as maybe in Vicky Krieps is the best performance, lead performance that he has in a film. I mean, he's really writing great lead characters, and she's it's a lot of her quiet moments too, and it's just she's funny and vulnerable and everything. Yeah,
I love the opening of the waterbed store after she gets drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Or she gets high. After she gets high,
starts peeking.
Yeah, and she's just like, she's dancing, she's having fun, she's living her best life, and then she looks over at Gary and his little girl, and all her face just drops, and she's like, "Urgh."
Honestly, I thought of Shelley Duvall a lot in this when this go around.
Shelley Duvall.
Yeah, I thought of a lot of just about like how Altman has her in films and sort of how she can be,
and she's very unique looking, like Shelley Duvall.
Exactly, and I just thought of how
appealingly unique looking.
Yes, and how you're kind of drawn to her like a moth to a flame, and how in one moment she could do something really funny, and the next moment it's like super sad and super serious and very vulnerable. And you had to find to how PTA thought that this would work, and hear in conversations about having these two these untrained, haven't performed in anything actors, and it really shows to go from working with Daniel Day-Lewis and Leslie Manville to great, in Vicky Krieps, 3 great actors, and then to go work with
stalwarts,
these
titans.
Yes, to then go and work with like these 2 essentially up and comers, nobodies at the time, amateurs. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like that shows the range of him as a filmmaker, as a director, to be able to get the performances that he needs out of him.
He can get a great performance out of
anybody.
My 16-month-old.
Is there ever a movie that he's had somebody really with like an outright terrible performance? Because
now that I've turned the corner on Julianne Moore in Magnolia, I would say no.
No, I don't think so.
I'm finally pro Julianne Moore.
There's never I know I'm not like the biggest fan of like Penn here, but like I'm also like I don't know who the hell I would want to have replace. But I get but he also fits. You're right, because he's got to be kind of an asshole. And though Nick Cage would have been really.
I think Penn. I think Penn has. Oh, I would prefer. I don't think Cage could do it.
Yeah, he would have been.
Cage would be good, but then it wouldn't be doing. Like,
but it wouldn't be as pointed. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So him with weights would have been electric.
That would have been hilarious. I 110% would have watched that. But
yeah.
I think
I can watch weights in anything, I guess. So
I can watch Cage in just about anything too. Honestly.
Yeah. Oh well.
Except the last act of Dream scenario.
Oh.
Yikes!
Here we go. Here we go. Jay's getting upset. Jay.
Yes.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. This is a great convo. Great company.
Good life going good so far?
Oh my gosh, life is going amazing. I'm feeling like Bradley Cooper at a dance club. Do you know how much tail that guy gets? all of it. All of it.
Well, Jay, I'm glad you're doing well, because before we get out of here, we're going to test your award season knowledge based on the film we just reviewed, which was like a Licorice Pizza, in a segment we like to call It's an Honor to Get Nominated. Dan,
let's do it.
Mum's the word on this, because Dan's
well-versed. Yeah, everybody has to bite their tongue during this part.
Yeah. Well, awards people do. Most people that aren't awards people don't have to.
Good Lord.
Sometimes you can get help. Sometimes you can. And
last time Josh was on, he was like an encyclopedia. I was blown away.
Yeah, Josh. Well, I mean, it's Josh Parham.
It was incredible.
Jay,
I will not be that good.
Jay, was this movie nominated for any Oscars?
It was. See, this one's so recent. I should know this.
What was nominated? Yeah, it was just a couple years ago. What was it nominated for?
All right. Screenplay for sure.
You got it.
It got in for pick.
Correct.
Okay. Cooper got a nom.
He did not.
Oh, damn it.
He got SAG.
All right, so no acting then.
Should have got. And he got BAFTA, right? Right, Dan? I think. Did he get BAFTA? I'll look that up. Keep going, Jay.
All right.
No, he got SAG.
I'm gonna. Oh God, the text. I don't know what
he didn't get BAFTA. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna say the vignettiness of it. I'm gonna say editing.
Incorrect.
Damn. I don't know. Did it? I mean, cinematography.
Incorrect.
I didn't think so.
Unfortunately,
I think that's it.
You're thinking it's just 2, huh? Because usually,
I don't know what else it would be.
Because Paul Thomas Anderson is a writer.
Oh, direction.
There you go.
I always forget
there
director.
We go.
He's a writer director.
Yes. All right. That's all. That's all.
There you go. Those are the 3. That's it.
Crazy that this got no text.
No text. No performances.
Crazy.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, we had to nominate Nicole Kidman in Beating the Ricardos, but not Alana Haim.
I mean,
J.K. Simmons, but not.
I would have been fine with Nicole Kidman's nomination if we didn't have Christine Ebersol in this movie giving clearly the better performance as Lucille Ball.
I was going to say we forgot about the tiny. What is it? Tiny toes.
It was crazy to actually inhabit the Ricardos, though.
I mean, it was almost like you were saying they were being them live on the screen.
I never thought.
You know what? Give me Christine Ebersol and being the Ricardos or being me death. I say.
I always wish it was the original casting of Kate Blanchett and Oscar Isaac. That would have just
really weird.
It would have been weird, but it would have been better.
Bad too.
No, I think Blanchett would have done well with it, but then we wouldn't have gotten.
Blanchett does not have Lucille Ball energy.
No,
she's. Okay.
She has weirdly even less.
Should have been directed by Andrew Dominic, starring Anna Darmus.
Oh, for God's sakes, we're not going that. Jesus Christ! And it got real dark in here.
Oh my God!
I would not have. No, you do not get away with that one. That was terrible, Jay. You know.
Oh wow.
Jay, would you have given this any of the Oscars that it was nominated for?
Oh man, I need to. So this was, I think West Side Story has supplanted this as my favorite movie of the year. I think I would also have to give Spielberg director for that movie because directing that movie is a miracle.
Over Jane Campion for Power of the Dog.
I would give it to Spielberg. Yes, I would give Campion. I would give Power of the Dog a screenplay.
Okay, that takes it away from Coda. He's doing good so far.
Oh, Coda. This is the Coda year? Take it back. I'd give it all to Coda.
Yeah, Jay, Coda won adapted screenplay over Drive My Car, Dune, The Lost Daughter, and The Power of the Dog.
So he wouldn't give it to over Coda because this is an original screenplay.
No. I'm just saying
Power of the Dog.
He's getting around.
Sorry. That was Power of the Dog.
He's getting around to it.
Sorry.
He's getting around there.
All right. Okay. Hold on. Pulling up my letterbox list here.
Original screenplay, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Jay, you want to know original?
Yeah.
Belfast was the winner.
Oh.
Don't Look Up. Speaking of which.
What a year.
King Richard.
What a year.
A slaptastic good time at the movies. I do say King Richard. Licorice Pizza. And of course, The Worst Person in the World.
The rightful winner.
I would give it to Worst Person.
Yep.
I give it a Licorice Pizza. So then Paul Thomas Anderson finally has an Oscar, and we can right an egregious wrong that if an overdue auteur was supposed to win an Oscar in 2021, it was supposed to be Paul Thomas Anderson and not
Jane Campion, you monster.
And not Buddy. All right.
I couldn't even tell you who directed Coda.
Oh.
It's Sean Hader.
Yeah, it is.
Bill Hader's brother?
Sister?
Sean,
Sister?
Irish girl. You know.
That's right.
Bad movie.
Coda.
Bad winner, good, decent movie.
We need to talk. We don't need to talk about Kevin. We don't need to talk about Bruno. We need to talk about Coda. And just figure out what the deal was. What was in the water in 2022?
I think it was People
What was what did you? I can tell you.
say it, Dan. It's okay. You're among friends.
Heart,
No.
love. We wanted to be comforted in 2022. 2020 was a nightmare, and 2021 was not any better. And people wanted to feel love and close to each other, and those are things that Coda does very, very well. And
then there
frankly,
was an act of physical violence on stage, and they said, "Yes, yes, this
Oh,
is
no.
beautiful. What a beautiful
Oh,
time."
More, please.
Oh.
Talk about it. Variety. Talk about it every week for the next 2 years, please. Make it your like identity for every freaking article. My God, no, Jay's right. It's just a bad winner. It's like it's not the Green Book level, but it's just one that when you look back on it,
At least Green Book, I can like put myself in the heads of people who would vote for Green Book. I cannot.
I
figure
think
it out
Green Book felt like and Dan, you can agree with me on this or not. It felt like the last act of a defining section of the Academy.
Yeah, it was literally
like
straight out of the 80s Best Picture win.
It was like Moonlight and Shape of Water have happened on our watch, and we're losing our power, and they're adding more members. So the last chance, and genuinely, it was a crowd pleaser because it won the TIFF Audience Award, and people liked it and responded to it.
That movie is,
and that's easy to get.
No,
through.
you know what? It's the exact same thing as Coda. I'll tell you exactly what it is.
No.
Yes, it is in this way.
No, Green Book is the most cynical piece of claptrap. And
no. I agree with you on a like as far as construction is concerned, but as far as how you could convince yourself that it is the best movie of the year, it is a movie that you can pat yourself on the back for liking it without challenging you in any way whatsoever.
Yeah. And those movies are kind of perfect for a preferential ballot. Because challenging movies like Power of the Dog and Licorice Pizza or even Drive My Car, those are going to be lower because people are, if they don't connect with it, like people online, they don't connect with it, mass audiences, then they're going to probably put it lower. And then those movies not necessarily has to be first place votes, right? It has to be in like the 1 to 4 range. And so that's like kind of, unless you have a movie that just is overwhelmingly, it's gonna like a Parasite or an Everything Everywhere All at Once, where you're like, this is clearly the movie that everybody loves, as opposed to a movie you're like Coda, like, you know, Power of the Dog was winning a lot, and then there was a lot of like, there was a lot of homophobic things that were said about it. It was very Brokeback Mountain, almost Crash all over again with the Sam Elliott stuff, and then there was like people
nearly at the same level as for Brokeback.
No, but it started, and then you had like people ginning up controversies, like, you know, Variety ginning up that stuff about Critics' Choice with Jane Campion, and how that like derailed it, and ultimately I think that there was a month gap. There were almost a 2-month gap in between the nominations and the voting. And it was a really long year because now it happens at the beginning of March. So it's like 3 weeks lesser. And I think those 3 weeks affected and ultimately ended up helping Coda, a movie that then went on to win SAG. And then people are like, oh, what's this Coda thing? And it is emotionally like it'll get you in the end. And whether they're manipulating those tears or not, it can get to the point where like, oh, I want to do the I Love You sign too. And I cried with them and I want to meet them at the party and stuff. And then they ended up winning the whole thing. So, yeah. And then they also don't like being told what movie they should vote for. That's kind of what Power of the Dog almost felt like at a certain point. It's like, this is what is winning Best Picture. It's like, no, it's not. So it felt like, again, another act of defiance, it felt like. But
anyway, I would give this production design. Actually, no, I wouldn't, based on the other nominees on here.
That's the thing. Like, this is a movie that I want to give a lot of nominations to, but then when I look at what was nominated, I'm like, oh, actually, maybe it does get in like the 6 or 7 spot.
Like Nightmare Alley, not a movie I love. Immaculate design.
Oh God.
Tragedy in Macbeth.
I would put it in. Tragedy in Macbeth, the design and tragedy. Are you poo-pooing that or?
No, I'm saying like
so
that's
good.
immaculate.
I was about to say. I was about to get
production design.
Cinematography, I would put it in over Dune and Nightmare Alley.
Over Dune.
I would put it over Dune.
I would too.
I would put makeup and hairstyling. That reminds me of something we didn't talk about.
I would put this in cinematography over West Side Story. So
I would think
West Side Story is like a freaking cinematographic achievement.
I would say that I would kick Nightmare Alley out also, and potentially Dune for Licorice Pizza, but I also would put in The Green Knight. That movie is impeccable. It's my favorite. Still my favorite.
Just looking at best makeup, one thing we didn't talk about was the lack of makeup that the performers in this movie put on, which I really appreciated, and grounded it with the blemishes and the pimples and all that stuff.
Absolutely, Jay.
Yep,
correct.
Loved it.
Yeah. I would give it screenplay.
I would give it editing too.
I would. Ooh, what one editing?
Dune.
I would kick out Don't Look Up in Hank Corbin easily.
King Richard editing.
I mean, I get that. Those tennis sequences are really good at the end.
You know, I love Bernthal in that movie.
Oh my God, Bernthal with the shorty shorts. And I get the Tick Tick Boom nomination is actually really good in editing.
That's actually inspired.
It's an inspired choice. I know people would kick out probably Power of the Dog, but I'd tell them to go fuck themselves.
Editing in Power of the Dog is fantastic.
I'd kick out really anyone in the Best Actress category to put Alana Haim in here. I kick them all out.
It's
not a good lineup.
That's big. I agree. It's not the best lineup.
Let me see.
Kristen Stewart, Spencer, Nicole Kidman being the Ricardos, Penelope Cruz, Parallel Mother, Olivia Colman, The Lost Daughter, Jessica Chastain, The Eyes of Chastity.
I would have probably Olivia Colman and Cruz over her, but I'm fine with the other three.
Yeah, I would definitely.
Getting rid of Jay?
I'm fine with getting rid of the other three, yeah.
Okay.
Wait, I gotta look at my letterbox list for this year.
Well, obviously,
obviously the winner, the performance of the year is Renata Reinsva.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Rachel Zegler because you're a big West Side Story.
Renata Reinsva should have won.
I don't get the love for that movie. I'm on an island on that one. Maybe I gotta maybe I think it was one of those like everybody saw it before I did, and then I finally watched it on the screener from the Neon Box, and I just was like, okay, that's fine, that's good.
Okay, take that as a note, all film publicists. If you want Ryan to give your film a good review, let him see it early.
Let me see it in a theater.
Wow.
Let me see it let me see it on a Blu-ray rather than seeing it on a DVD. Come on, Neon.
Parallel Mothers, that's a movie I find myself thinking about more and more.
Well, we love Almodovar. I talk about somebody that I love.
Pedro.
Love Pedro. I mean, everybody loves Spencer. Everybody loved Kristen Stewart and wanted that nomination to happen.
She's great.
Not a big. I don't know. I go back and forth on that.
I think that movie is like a dollhouse. It's like immaculately scored, immaculately made. I think there's like I cannot find the there with that movie. I cannot figure it out.
It's okay.
We all have those.
Who would you? I mean, obviously Bardem out of actor, right? If you wanted to put in.
No, are you kidding me? Performance of the year.
Would you guys take away Smith's Oscar?
I would throw Javier Bardem out for Ice-T in whatever NCIS or whatever show he's on.
Okay. What are you talking about? You're really going off the rails now. Would you keep I'm
just saying I would throw him out for anybody.
Would you keep Smith's Oscar with him? I mean, take the slap out of it. Would you keep it with him?
Big Willie style?
Okay.
Look, Ryan,
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Look, everyone on this Cumberbatch, everyone on this podcast knows who should have won the Oscar this year.
Benedict Cumberbatch?
Unfortunately, he wasn't nominated.
Oh. Who?
Ryan, the fact that you, of all people, don't know right off the top of your goddamn head.
Hidetoshi Nishijima?
Sir, you had a goddamn billboard.
Oh, that's right. Nicolas Cage for Pig. That's right.
I
I'm just so old now, Dan. I can't
Tom
remember
Hanks for
things.
Finch.
He's not kidding. He's
I'm the
not
number
kidding.
one. I am the number one Finch stan. So.
I think Finch was 2020, wasn't it? Not 2021.
I mean, look, obviously,
the movie made
Benedict
me
Cumberbatch,
bawl my freaking eyes out.
obviously Benedict Cumberbatch should have been nominated for The Electrical Life of Louis Wayne instead.
Oh man,
But
we're still
not gonna
talking about
talk
that one.
Still talking about it 2 years later.
Is that the cat movie?
Yes.
Okay. Never saw it. No, don't like it.
What about
Stout.
Tom Holland for Cherry? Remember Cherry?
Oh God, that was a thing that happened. Yeah.
LeBron for Space Jam.
Dev Patel for the Green Knight would have been great.
You're a Green Knight.
I love Green Knight.
That would have been great.
That
Udo
was-
Kier for Swan Song would have been really nice.
That would have been good too. That would have been good too. Yeah, I would give it a Cumberbatch.
Ooh, Ryan Reynolds for Free Guy.
But yeah, no.
And of course, everyone's favorite,
Andrew
Red
Garfield.
Rocket.
Oh, I was going to say. Well, everybody loves Andrew
I do
Garfield.
like Red Rocket.
Shout out to Denzel in Macbeth.
I love Denzel and Macbeth.
Absolutely incredible.
Well, I'm very divided on that performance, but when he's good, he's incredible.
Man,
yeah.
that movie rules. Francis should have got in too. Corey Hawkins should have had more to do in that movie. To be
Corey
fair.
Hawkins rocks in that movie.
Yes.
Corey
Yeah,
Hawkins just rocks the house. Oh my god!
absolutely should have had more to do.
I was like, where the hell is he? I'd like more of him, please. Thank you very much.
Corey Hawkins should be in more stuff in general.
Yeah, but he's not good in Color Purple, which is a shame.
Haven't seen it yet.
But
He just doesn't have enough to do.
that too. And what he does have, it's not really that good. We talked about this, Dan, on the main show, but it's disappointing. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, what?
No, I'm just saying cool.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying one more last thing.
No, cool.
All right, Jay.
I'm saying one more thing. Cool.
All right, Jay. Would you keep Coda the Best Picture winner, or would you give it to something else in the lineup?
Oh, I'd keep it Coda for sure.
Okay. Honestly,
Good.
awesome. What would you?
History
Dan,
is going to look back
Dan, would you keep it
fondly
with Coda?
on Coda.
Would I?
Come on.
Given the nominees.
Yeah, given the nominees.
Given the nominees, I would keep it with Coda.
Jesus. Even with this
Are
movie?
you kidding me?
Are you kidding me, Dan? Even with this movie there? The movie we just talked about?
I love this movie a whole lot. It does not make me cry.
Oh my god.
Oh, for God's sakes. Jay, I know you're...
I would give it to West Side Story.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Honestly, it would be Coda or Dune.
I give it to The Power of the Dog, or I give it to this. Or I actually Drive My Car's right there, too. I love Drive My Car.
Drive My Car is great.
Those three movies... those are cream of the crop movies for me from this year.
Yeah, the problem
That's
for
the
me
difference.
is like my real favorite movies this year did not make it into this category.
Yeah, I know. That's why like people get like weirdly like, you know, they're like, oh, you're so big into Oppenheimer and winning Oscars. So it's like, yeah, because like I know years where my favorite movie didn't get nominated for shit.
Yeah,
And I have to sit by the sidelines while all people are salivating over another. You know what I mean? So, but then no, I get why it won, but I still think Power of the Dog. That's such a movie I think about all the time, and
The movie is very, very good.
it's very, very good. And
It's
this movie, I think about this one all the time.
Card Counter. Hello.
Oh, that's right. This fucking year, the stupid car
what a
counter.
film!
Lake Trader, baby.
Oh, for God's sakes! All right,
What a film!
Dan,
Ryan,
can you tell everybody where they can find you and all your work? And thank you for coming on again and talking about Licorice Pizza.
oh, of course, that I will take any opportunity to talk about this movie. I love talking about this movie. I love talking about this movie, especially with people who can talk about the movie instead of other things.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Instead of talking about bullshit, is that what you're talking about? Bullshit.
Yeah. Instead
Okay.
of talking about bullshit.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
Yeah. Talk about the movie, not the controversy. Anyway, yeah, you can find me to talk more about this movie on Twitter at Dance and Dan on Film. And you can see my reviews of it up on Letterboxd at Dance and Dan.
Dan's got reviews, interviews, and all that stuff also at awardswatch.com and over at
Hey.
Next Best Picture too. I'll help you out there. I'll plug all the rest of the stuff for you, Dan, because I love you.
So selfless of you, Ryan.
You know what? It's Just the little things us heroes do every now and then. Jay, where can we find you, buddy?
Oh, Letterbox, just search Jay Ledbetter. Any writing I do, look at awardswatch.com. Apparently, I'm supposed to write a review for Argyle coming up soon, so definitely be on the lookout for that. The movie looks absolutely demented. And Twitter at Mr. J Ledbetter. Movie recommendation of the week. Rewatch Catch Me If You Can. Good grief. What a freaking picture.
What an entertainment.
Christmas canon. As far as I'm concerned. So watch that one. Spielberg, he needs all the help he can get.
He needs all the help he can get. Yeah.
I mean, look, on the basis of his last two movies, I couldn't agree with you more, Jay.
Oh, wait, I have one more thing.
Thanks for the podcast, everybody.
So Jack Frost. George Clooney.
Just do it. Just do it.
Clooney.
Really?
Originally, the person who was cast as Jack Frost at first was George Clooney.
Yeah.
And so they built all the models for the snowman and like everything was done. And then
he said,
George
bye-bye.
Clooney dropped out and then Michael Keaton came in. So the snowman still looks like George Clooney, even though it's voiced by Michael Keaton.
Well, at least they got a Batman in there.
Another Christmas canon movie, Jack Frost. That movie is so sad.
I hate you so much because
So
you got this
bad.
stupid Jack Frost tangent in at the last second of this fucking podcast.
The dad dies in the first like 5 minutes of the movie.
Spoiler alert for Jack Frost.
And then he
For
melts
a
at the end of the movie.
2-decade-old movie.
That people probably forgot about, and then they're like, "Oh, what's Jack
That if
Frost?"
they saw it, they should have forgotten about it.
Yeah, no shit. Keaton probably, and they asked Keaton about it. He's like, "I did what?"
I need to
He's
rewatch
probably
it.
like, that movie is why I moved to the farm.
Yeah, exactly. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Ryan McQuade 77, where I'm probably tweeting or logging something about how Jay is a horrible human being. All my reviews, interviews, and stuff are at awardswatch.com, other places as well. You can find those online. What else? If you like podcasts, the Awards Watch podcast is released every Monday. We just released a couple weeks ago best of the year episode. I'm really proud of that one, and of the team.
I was on it.
Yeah, you were on it. Dan was on it.
Dan was on it.
Really,
It was
hope
a
you
really
guys-
fun one to do.
It really was.
What was the stupid stuff we ended up talking about, Ryan?
I don't know. I guess the listeners will have to.
We got real sidetracked on that one.
Yeah, we really did.
Dan kept this thing on the rails.
Yeah, he really did.
I had a lot to say, and I didn't get to say like half my thoughts on this movie.
Keep saying. I mean, Dan, if you got a couple other things you want to just say real quickly.
I love
In
the
outro.
opening thing for how it's like basically American Graffiti. The
Yeah.
opening. of
Oh,
American
yeah.
Graffiti,
It's a
immediately
cherry bomb.
establishing it as a nostalgia piece.
Mhm.
It's great. I'll keep it to like one little thing. I love oh, fuck off, Danielle.
Yeah. Then she just
Right.
walks away.
A great
Everything with the sisters is just so perfect.
great quote when they were asking PTA about the movie. They were just asking about the nostalgic element of the film and just kind of speaking to that transgression. His quote was, "It wasn't that long ago that nostalgia was considered kind of a medical condition." So it is that like kind of rose-colored glasses. I'm showing you something that isn't nearly as kind of desirable as you might remember it. So just looking back at youth and then not really realizing, oh, that was kind of messed up.
If you
PTA knows what he's doing.
he really
I'm gonna miss him, Ryan. We're done.
Yeah.
I know. If you like this podcast, go to iTunes and Spotify, give it 5 stars. We'd greatly appreciate those reviews. Over at awardswatch.com, please sign up for the newsletter. That's how you get all the podcasts, interviews, all that other stuff under one roof, sent to you twice a week. Eric does a lot of work for that stuff. It's some FYC information as well. It's great to have. Movie recommendation for me. I saw a movie recently. You know how we're all playing catch up right now?
Yeah, Jack Frost.
Yep. I totally did not watch that. But it's like stop it, Jay. We're trying to catch up with stuff that we missed throughout the year. And I missed a little movie called A Fire from
A little Petzold.
little Christian Petzel action. I gotta say this. I was blown away by it. I think it's absolutely amazing. Petzel's my guy. He's my boy now. He's on the
Petzold.
yeah. He's the dude. He's the man. And yeah, I was blown away by it. He's batting 1,000 for me right now. So yeah, it moved all the way in the top 10. It broke my top 10.
Wow.
Wow.
Is that your list of fire?
Yeah, it really
there
did.
you go.
And then just a rewatch recommendation. I watched Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory because now I know why.
Man, Ryan, you're about to make me go on a Wonka tangent, and that is not what you want.
Jay,
Look, sometimes you just need the good version of the thing, and that original is good.
What are
movie.
people talking about with Wonka? That movie stinks.
Jay,
I agree.
Jay, we had to find out why he loved chocolate.
You know what? You're right. Actually, I take it back. It's good.
I need you to stop
He
saying these nasty things.
He loves chocolate.
He loves it. And I need it. Dan, don't. We needed to know. And now we know. And now.
But Ryan, one thing you need to remember is that there's chocolate and then there's chocolate. And that's really what the movie is saying.
What the movie is saying is
in
that
your pocket.
What the movie is saying is that Willy Wonka is actually the third part of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
There you go.
He is the Dawn of Justice because his mom was always also important.
Martha, why would you say her name? Yes, but no. We wanted to watch something on New Year's, and so we watched a double feature of Kiki's Delivery Service, which is an amazing film, my favorite Miyazaki, and we watched Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Right, you are now giving 3 movie recommendations. On this thing. We're
not giving one.
We're over 2 hours now.
Listen, I didn't give one last week. But just like you truly forget how unhinged and genius of a performance that Wilder's given in that.
Gene Wilder rules.
Truly,
it's a perfect performance, and
that is.
I hadn't seen the movie in 20 years, and I was like, God damn it, this movie! It's so fucking funny. There's so many just like little jokes that he says aside, so inappropriate.
He's one of those guys who just anything he says is funny.
Yes, absolutely.
Him, Albert Brooks,
and
for me, Steve Coogan is that way.
And I tell you, the minute I was done watching, I was like, fuck. Wonka's terrible. I had given Wonka like the Paul King kind of pass because I thought the movie was fine when I watched it. I didn't have high expectations going into it. And I don't think that's like the greatest thing I've ever seen. But like if you compare this to that, not even fucking close.
I know that the first time I saw Wonka, I was in like a bad mood. So I was like, I need to see it again to give it the benefit of the doubt because clearly the mood I was in was not good for my feeling about the film. And I saw it when I was in a better mood, and I'm still like, oh, so this is
just the movie's fault.
It's like, oh, so this is what The Greatest Showman would have been like if it was written by actual hacks. Okay,
This is the greatest show.
I have been too cruel to the music of The Greatest Showman. It could have been really dire.
What about the movie where they go scrub?
Scrubbity scrub. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Matt Lucas has a part in the film.
I mean,
so
when are we doing a Matt Lucas series?
But
never.
Not if Eric has anything.
Eric will never approve that.
Sure.
Eric will never approve that. But speaking of series, you're absolutely right. As we come here to the end,
we got to talk
Paul
about
Thomas Anderson series.
Yeah.
We will have a bonus content episode that Jay and I have already recorded with the great Sean Fennessy of The Ringer to give our PTA awards out. We're going to talk about best performances, scenes, needle drops, and all things in between. It was a really fun episode. I can't wait for that to drop here in the next week or so. But we are moving on to a new director here in the new year, and that is the one and only Mr. William Friedkin. And,
Freaky Friedkin.
And there's a lot of blind spots in his filmography for me, and first time watches, but there are also some great rewatches that are coming along the way. Next week we'll be back. We'll be talking about our first film in the series. It'll be The Boys in the Band. and not the Sonny and Cher film.
You're telling me we're skipping the Sonny and Cher film?
Yeah.
I watched that. This is me getting back on my freak stuff, watching everything.
I will tell you this for
I
our
watched the
listeners.
Sonny and Cher movie.
Yeah. I will tell you for our listeners out there that we will not cover every film from William Friedkin in the series, but it'll just be a new way we do the format here, where we're going to try to cover the best, most known, but also some gems in there too. There's some gems in there that
have we covered every one from every director we've done so far?
Yes, we have. So we have to kind of tell everybody up front that we're changing it up a little bit. But this is what we will do.
Or we could pivot and do the Sonny and Cher movie.
I think not. But I'm sure we will give thoughts on every film in between, because as everybody knows, Jay is Mr. Completist around here. And so we will talk about every freaking film in between. We will just not give a full episode on it. So next week, Boys in the Band, first film, new series, new year. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you all next time.